There's insanity in the control room.
I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Monday. Hopefully, you all had a pleasant weekend. We are back. We're back after the weekend, obviously. So we're gonna get a show for you all today. Thank you for tuning in. Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here. We've got some interesting things that I want to talk about today. But I just want to mention our friend in the intro. Dr. Jason Johnson still has me blocked on Twitter. Just want to mention that. Dr. Jason Johnson, the guy that goes on MSNBC and talks shit about Bernie and progressives, can't forget about how sad that is. Like that person cannot take criticism for his obviously nuclear bad takes. And despite the fact that, of course, that his side won, we have Biden as president, and, you know, this is despite the fact, of course. So over the weekend, I was actually listening into David Dole. He was doing a Twitch stream, by the way. David Dole, the Rational National on Twitch now. Yes, I'm plugging for my friend. Hey, you know, lefty solidarity and all. And he was talking about an interesting point that I've kind of hit on before, and that is, of course, the idea that Biden isn't like ideologically rigid. He's sort of like. He likes to be liked, and he likes to be liked by the people in the room. And so, you know, if you're in the room, if you've got his ear, like Bernie Sanders seems to, then he does better things. He goes in a little bit better of a direction. This is why we don't have Rahm Emanuel on staff right now or Larry Summers on staff right now, even though there are also some terrible people that he tried to get on his cabinet, like Neera Tanden, but that didn't work either. So that's good. But at the same time, you know, it's good that we'll get decent things, but we're not going to get like Medicare for all. You know, that sucks. And, you know, it doesn't matter how much we push for it. We're not going to get Medicare from all for all from Biden. But at the same time, like, hey, we will get some positive things. Bernie Sanders is looking to, I think, reduce the age of Medicare enrollment from like 65 to 55. It's a step in the right direction. And then adding things from his Medicare for All plan, which would be like vision, dental, to Medicare, which is all positive stuff. Not as far as, you know, we really would want, but Bernie Sanders, he's going to get it if he's got to push inch by inch. And since progressives are kind of in the woods here, at the moment, since we don't have a super progressive president and we don't have, you know, 100 members of the squad in the Senate, or as many as we can, well, you know, we're gonna take as much as we can here, and do what we can as much as we can, and you know, you got to do what you got to do. Okay, and take the wins where you can, and keep pushing for better. Obviously. All right. So that said, interesting stuff. By the way, personal anecdote here. So a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, I had a back spasm. Very painful stuff. Not fun. Went to urgent care. Got the bill, $436. This is why I got 2 shots and a prescription. Medicare for all, for God's sakes. That's insane. In any other country, I got a lot of foreign viewers. Okay, a lot of viewers from other countries, less barbaric countries. They kind of like the. I know y'all like to come in and watch a shit show here in America. I get it, and you know it's good viewing. It's let's tune into America today. What's happening there? Oof, oh, that oof, not good. Oh, very bad there. Even though, you know, it's not perfect in Europe, obviously, but America's a shit show. And this is the newest episode of the shit show. You know, we got medical bills in this country over $400. And by the way, $400, a lot of Americans, like, this is pre-pandemic. Almost half of all Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. I had a $400 emergency. I'm very, very fortunate that I'm going to be able to pay that. But a lot of people can't. And we shouldn't have to in the first place. Medicare for all. That's why we need it. Stuff like that. Okay. Anyway, just sharing my little anecdote here about how, like, you know, medical debt affects everyone. Even if you're, you know, doing all right for yourself, still, it is medical care in this country is super unaffordable. All right. And we need to fix it. Medicare for all. Not going to stop till we get it. All right. Moving on. Let's get into the stories. So we're going to start out with Candace Owens going on some interesting tweets. Or one interesting tweet. I'm going to break it apart. I'm going to address all the... We're going to do a deep dive into a Candace Owens tweet. I know, but I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. Even though it doesn't sound like it at the beginning. Trust me, we'll get into it. A lot of different factors involved here. So without further ado, let's do. So Candace Owens is a black conservative. I know. They exist. They're rare. And they exist. And, you know, conservatives, they love that. They love the fact that there's somebody that is willing to come out there and to, you know, talk about how bad black people are. That's kind of what she's there for. That's her entire purpose in the right wing, is to come out and talk about how bad black culture is and how it's bad for America. So she is a friend of white supremacy. And so in keeping with her role that she is paid handsomely for, she decided to go on a bizarre attack against black figures that are in the news, starting with George Floyd. So now here's what she said about George Floyd. This is nothing new. We've turned George Floyd, a criminal drug addict, into an icon. Now, this is timely because today marks the first day of the trial of Derek Chauvin. Chauvin, of course, is charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter for his role in George Floyd's death after kneeling on his neck for nearly 9 minutes after, of course, 6 minutes, Floyd had become unresponsive. And Officer Kung actually couldn't find a pulse. The crowd, of course, had asked him, hey, check and even see if he's still alive. He went limp about 6 minutes in. And, okay, check him. Well, he was checked. He was non-responsive, couldn't find a pulse after 6 minutes. And still, Chauvin kept his knee on him for almost 3 minutes longer. This happened, of course, over an alleged counterfeit $20 bill. Chauvin's defense, of course, is that George Floyd didn't die because the officer was choking off his blood flow with his knee. No, it's because he was doing drugs. He had fentanyl in the system, and it was a pre-existing heart conditions and all that stuff. Okay, but the thing that precipitated his death wasn't those two things. He would have been fine had it not been the officer kneeling on his fucking neck. I'm just saying. All right, so now anyway, the kneeling on the neck reduces blood flow to the brain. There's a reason, of course, this is used by officers to subdue people, because it's actually pretty effective at subduing people. You know, because there's less blood going to your brain. And now, of course, you add to that being manhandled, forced onto the pavement, having a knee on your neck. You know, after a confrontation with police officers, that's going to cause some issues. It's going to increase the level of adrenaline in your system. It's going to turn you into fight or flight. It's going to impact your health. And of course, if you have pre-existing heart conditions, or if you have, you know, a drug in your system, well, that's not going to be good for your health. Okay. In fact, after approaching the car that George Floyd was in, after his, you know, he basically went to the store, tried to buy some cigarettes. They told him, no, you've got a counterfeit bill. You need to leave, and then we're going to call the cops on you. And that's what happened. Thomas Lane, first to arrive on the scene with his partner, approached the car with guns drawn. Well, now that's an interesting way to start things off. Now, of course, that's going to start bringing people to holy shit anxiety, because I have an officer here with a gun drawn on me, and I didn't even do anything. So there's that. Draw the gun, say, raise your, you know, show your hands. Mr. Len then, according to prosecutors, put his hands on Mr. Floyd, pulled him out of the car. Floyd then actively resisted being handcuffed because, of course, this officer runs up on him with a gun drawn, rips him out of his car. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a struggle. Okay? Not good. Once handcuffed, though, Mr. Floyd became compliant after Mr. Lane explained that he was being arrested for passing counterfeit currency. Court transcripts from police body cameras also show Mr. Floyd appears cooperative at the beginning of the arrest. That strange thing about, you know, what does they keep saying? Like, oh, don't resist then, and you won't have anything to worry about. You won't die if you won't resist. Well, he's being cooperative. Following what the officer said, they still ripped him out of his car. And then, not only that, but he repeatedly apologized to the officers as they approached his parked car. Mr. Lane then asked Mr. Floyd to show his hand at least 10 times before ordering him to get out of the vehicle. Of course, look, if you're on fentanyl, which he was a little high, okay, you're not going to be able to follow police commands. Is that something that is worthy of death? If you ask a conservative, they say absolutely. Now, if you ask any other rational people, you're going to say, well, all right, I can see how that could be a problem. And I could see how maybe you're not like comprehending or understanding the instructions that you're given. That's not worth a death sentence. And then Chauvin arrived, and we know, of course, what happened from there. Now, nothing he did justifies George Floyd's death. And that, of course, is why he's a symbol. Candace Owens either doesn't understand or is paid not to understand that this is why he's a symbol. It's not necessarily about George Floyd himself. He is a representation of what has been going on in the black community for decades and even longer. Okay, it is the fact that, once again, another unarmed black man was unnecessarily killed by a police officer in a system that is serving a system, by the way, that is disproportionately harsher on people of color than they are on white people. I mean, seriously, you don't hear white people getting found with a counterfeit 20 being choked to death. All right, having a knee on the back of their neck and dying as a result. Okay, that's not something that happens. This man lost his life. Of course, Candace Owens, she already knows that. She already knows the point. And she is paid, of course, to take a contrarian view. Now, she continues. Sure. So first she goes after George Floyd. Now she goes after the Satan shoes. So it's a little Nas X, I think is what it is. Now, here's what she says. We are promoting Satan shoes to wear on our feet. We being meaning the black community. So now this is interesting because I had no idea that this was going to be like a thing. I've never heard of Satan shoes, but it is kind of funny when you think about it. Now the Satan shoes are a limited edition shoe made by rapper Lil Nas X and a company called MSCHF. They feature 666 pairs. And they have a red ink in the air bubble, along with a drop of human blood in each of them. Ooh. Which the company told the New York Times was sacrificed by employees. Each one of them has a pentagram medallion and Luke 10:18 written on the side, a reference to a Bible verse that reads, "And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven." Satan shoes cost a total of $10,018 a pair. And I would, of course, never buy those. Not because they're Satan shoes. I would wear the shit out of Satan shoes. But the fact that they're $10,000 a pair, no thank you, sir. I have never paid more than $50 for shoes. And I never will. Call it like the cheap, just call me cheap. I would never pay more than $50 for a pair of shoes. Okay? And that's it. That's what happens. All right? I'm just a cheap person. But all right. Now, what's funny about this is that this one thing, this pair of shoes, Republicans want to talk about cancel culture, right? They're going ape shit, insane over the Satan shoes. It's so funny. They were so incredibly offended. How dare you? How dare you do the Satan shoes? In fact, let me show you a video here. This is Pastor Greg Locke. He is going to talk about the Satan shoes.
Little thug, whoever. I had no idea who he was. We was riding this morning. Hudson said, "Well, you know what made him famous?" I said, "Well, he said, he was that horses song. Got my horses and whatever that song." I was like, "Man, that song's got a cool beat. I'll never be able to listen to it again." Bunch of devil worshiping, wicked nonsense. Pentagram wearing on your Nike tennis shoes 666. You think I'm gonna stand for that? You've lost your mind. You tell little Dash X I said so. Bunch of Satanism, bunch of wickedness, bunch of devilism, bunch of demonism, bunch of psychotic wickedness.
Whoa! Cocaine is a hell of a drug. No, I felt like this guy was going to start wheeling things out for auction. I'm not even going to try. By the way, okay, so here's what's funny about this. So there's a devil shoe, but there's also a Jesus shoe. Yes, the Jesus is sold by the same company, okay, which is white kicks with holy water that are currently sold out. So you get I don't know. I don't see a problem with this. So now, back to Candace Owens. Now, here's what she said. She continued by saying, quote, "We've got Cardi B named as Woman of the Year." Oh my God, Cardi B. Oh no. Now, that's of course because Candace Owens is obsessed with Cardi B. She's been obsessed with her since 2018. And of course, Fox News is obsessed with WAP, and not in a good way either. In fact, they've railed against WAP. They would rather have DAP. Dry P words. in the word to Ben Shapiro, not
wet ass P word.
No. They would want to have dry ass P words. Dry ass P words. Like complete desertification. If there are no tumbleweeds, then Fox News is not interested. Okay, they want the DAP. Okay. Now finally, she caps off this entire tweet by saying this: "But we are convinced it's white supremacy that's keeping Black America behind. How stupid can we be?" So now, here's the irony about this, right? So she's complaining about white supremacy, or I'm sorry, no, she's complaining about Black culture holding back Black people and not white supremacy. But here's the thing about that, right? So now, Black culture, Black music, art, it is ascendant. It's mainstream. You know why it's mainstream? Because it's good. White people love it. Ironically, right? But here's the thing: that does not translate into black people doing well. Sure, yeah, of course, you've got more black millionaires because they're the ones that are creating this art and music. But black culture itself is still demonized, especially by conservatives, especially by Fox News, and again by Candace Owens herself, looking at that and saying, "Oh no, I don't like that culture. No, that culture bad." And so, they see this as degeneracy. And the reason, of course, is that it's considered to be degenerate by, certain white people is because black people are making money off of it. Let's be honest about it. That's pretty much the real reason. They don't want black people to be successful. And so when they are, well, it's because it's degenerate. That's what it is. It's bad. It's degenerate. It's destroying culture. Come on. And so they hate it. And of course, Republicans, they love to cancel people anyway. And that's just part of what this is. They want to cancel little Nas X and Cardi B. They want to, of course, dismiss even more of an important point. They want to dismiss BLM's call for changing policing in this country by, of course, smearing a dead man. And that's really, really important there. That's probably the biggest, most important point. She would go that low to smear a dead man. But it doesn't really matter because for Candace Owens, it's always been about her getting ahead instead of anyone else. All right. Moving on. Let's go to Lindsey Graham. Yeah. Let's talk about the hellscape that is South Carolina. All right. Shit. Hold on a second. All right. Senator Lindsey Graham thinks that he needs an AR-15 to defend his house against the marauding hordes made up of his own constituents. Take a look.
I own an AR-15. If there's a natural disaster in South Carolina where the cops can't protect my neighborhood, my house will be the last one that the gang will come to because I can defend myself.
All right. Hey, that's bleak. Just a little bit. So now he's saying that in the case of a natural disaster, instead of helping his neighbors, like digging them out and being a leader, he would be instead sitting in his bunker, clutching his AR-15 rifle. Wonderful. As if, of course, in the case of a post-apocalyptic hellscape, that you wouldn't just have military-grade weapons lying around. So why would you need your shitty AR-15? We couldn't compete with like an M20 or M60. You know what I mean? But hey, have at it, Lindsey. Sure. All right. And by the way, the AK-47 would likely be even more effective because, those are good battle rifles. I'm just saying, like, they're resistant to jamming and dirt and all that stuff. So it'd probably be a superior weapon if you're locked in a hellscape. But hey, whatever. All right, that's just me. And by the way, this does kind of make me wonder what kind of dystopian hellscape South Carolina really is. Or more importantly, this is what Lindsey Graham actually thinks of you. And here's the thing. While there is, I'm pretty sure there's some instances of crime during natural disasters. Some people take opportunity. And understand, too, that I think most of that crime is actually people trying to survive. And, like, let's go back to, for example, the hurricanes, right? So that happened. Some of the hurricanes, or some of the headlines coming out of hurricanes, and it really does show the disparity between white and black people, by the way. White people scrounging for supplies, raiding stores and things like that. Well, they're just acquiring supplies. Black people do the same thing. They're looting. When in reality, of course, they're trying to survive during a time of course, crisis. You're trying to make sure that you can feed your family and have supplies and things like that. When, society kind of breaks down. That's a good racist double standard right there. All right. So, all right. That said, mostly people just band together to dig each other out, to repair and just basically try to survive. But not in Lindsey Graham's world. No. Lindsey Graham is incredibly scared. It's ironic because the guy thinks he's a tough guy when in reality, this entire thing shows how pathetic and weak he actually is. And also, by the way, you need an AR-15 to defend your home. No, you don't. Not necessarily. It turns out that when you ask gun experts about the effectiveness of certain weapons, you get a bunch of different opinions on this, actually. There's no real consensus here. Experts are divided, but they basically say that, there are different weapons that are pretty effective. Pistols, for example, it's an excellent home defense, they say, because it's often the most readily available, easy to handle, but does require some training to use effectively. Shotguns have always had a reputation for being the classic home defense weapon due to stopping power and sound that can scare and intimidate would-be burglars. According to these experts, however, like many experts point out, a shotgun may be too difficult to use for smaller framed individuals and can become a liability, which again, of course, said that they would recommend pistols for that. Lastly, they say that rifles would make a great home defense weapon due to increased accuracy, particularly longer ranges, and the larger magazine capacity is a benefit. One of the downsides, however, is that it may be more difficult to wield within the confines of a small house or apartment, and that would, of course, be good for a shotgun. And so, basically, you're able to utilize pistols, shotguns, or rifles. It doesn't have to be an AR-15 for home defense. And really, the most important thing about that is it's got to be used in the right hands. So you make sure you have to be, train with it. You have to make sure that you know how to use it, that you're safe, and all that stuff. And even if you do all that, studies have shown that you're much more likely to kill yourself or a family member than a would-be burglar anyway. And that's just cold, hard facts. And as long as you know that, as long as you understand that that could be the case, that you might end up accidentally gunning down your grandma or your whatever, and you still want to have a gun in your house for home defense, okay, well, it's freedom. It's called freedom. It's America. But anyway, add to the problems with the AR-15. Well, you've got the 5.56 millimeter ammo. It ends up being actually pretty expensive to not only buy one of them, over $1,000, but also to make sure that you have a stockpile of ammunition. So it's kind of like it's kind of bougie when you think about it. Having an AR-15 is like the Cadillac, except it's like a ripoff Cadillac because it's not even that, that great of a rifle versus something else that would be actually pretty effective and cheap to use as home defense. So I'm just saying. All right. Anyway, nonetheless, you got people out here that are buying these AR-15s. They're much more popular than they were before because, of course, I think great marketing campaigns by, ironically, the Obama administration by wanting to, of course, ban them. That's like the biggest advertising for these weapons, because then it scares people into, buying these guns, which aren't really that much more effective. I mean, they can be modded to be incredibly effective. That's why you had the bump stocks and things like that in the high capacity magazines. But generally, we should probably, get rid of some of those things. And the vast majority of the American people actually agree with this stuff. But again, a lot of people choose this because of the cool factor, right? And ironically, as I said before, the attempts to try to limit the sales of this and how much is talked about in the media and good marketing campaigns by the gun manufacturers, that's why it's popular. And so now, of course, it's popular. Lindsey Graham has to jump into it. And of course, he's going to get wrecked on Twitter. Here's what one person says. I lived through a natural disaster in South Carolina. It was called Hurricane Hugo. For 10 days, there was no electricity, running water, or cops. So now, of course, there's got to be the roving gangs, right? How did you survive? Oh, it turns out there was no marauding gangs. Weird. In fact, he says that only neighbors helping neighbors. The problem isn't disasters or gangs. The problem is you, Lindsey. Good stuff. There's more. Another person says, just to be clear, when Senator Graham imagines a natural disaster, he fantasizes about slaughtering desperate people instead of imagining himself acting as a leader to secure the health and safety of his constituents. And of course, as if, like, it's funny. Lindsey Graham is so incredibly scared and just not, like, this is what he thinks leadership is. Cowering in his bunker at his house, imagining the roving gangs of people. It's really, it says so much about the extreme right-wing view. And I think most conservatives, I would wager, most Republican voters, I would wager, would end up helping the community and would not be Lindsey Graham. And would not be a complete cowardly little bitch hiding in his bunker, clutching his rifle and wishing for daddy. No, it's the extremists. But unfortunately, the extremists have taken over the Republican Party. Again, you can go to banning high-capacity magazines, for example, doing those common-sense gun regulations. You're going to find you have massive bipartisan support. And why doesn't that translate into action when it comes to Congress? Well, it's because Congress, the Republicans in Congress, are bought off by the gun manufacturers, of course. And not only that, but you have these crazies, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, that are driving these massive divisions based on the culture war issues, of which guns have become one of them. A couple more here. One says, I didn't realize Graham is so afraid of his own constituents that he feels the need to own an assault rifle in order to potentially protect himself from them. Again, that's a clear example of what Lindsey Graham cares about: himself. It's all about him. Another person says, I've been in South Carolina during natural disasters, and the closest thing to a marauding gang I've seen were groups of Baptists handing out bottled water. Please don't shoot them, Lindsey. True. Another person says, here's a U.S. senator responsible for improving and protecting his state, imagining his town turning into a post-apocalyptic wasteland overnight, and recommending the policy based on fear, instead of, policy to actually prevent it. Welcome to the Republican Party. Or I should say, meet the Republican Party. Look, that's what they are. Understand that they would drive us towards that Mad Max type of future. Through, for example, not doing anything about climate change, not doing anything about global collapse, not doing anything about, dystopian conditions. It's almost as if the rich people who control the Republican Party, who give donations to the Republican Party, would rather build themselves an Elysium type of space station or go to Mars than deal with the problems here, than to actually help people here. Well, let's just live above the rabble. Or if we have to live down there, we're going to make sure to arm ourselves. And again, that's what the modern Republican Party is all about now. It's about fear, because fear sells guns. Fear sells guns and gets people to vote Republican. Fear and uncertainty has been shown to make people more conservative. Okay. If you're afraid of a group like immigrants, for example, and you're, insecure about yourself, you're afraid, then, if you think they're criminals, you think they're going to take your job, of course you're going to vote for Republicans. Fear. It really is reactionary. It shows that they're a reactionary party. Or what if you think trans people are bad and they add to the moral decay? Well, you're going to vote for Republicans, right? They're completely reactionary, as I said. They're based solely on the feelings. Those feelings, unfortunately, are rage and fear. And those things, of course, are exemplified by Lindsey Graham. Whereas, of course, the progressives, we tend to be, yes, we also have feelings, turns out. We also have the facts on our side. But our feelings are more of like, hey, we want to help people. We want to make the world a better place because we give a shit. And we actually love humanity. So, anyway. Let's go to the My Pillow guy. Of course we get the My Pillow guy. Mike Lindell, the CEO of My Pillow, just went on another bonkers rant. This time on Steve Bannon's podcast. Let's take a look.
What I'm talking about, Steve, is what I have been doing since January 9th. All the evidence I have, everything is going to go before the Supreme Court, and the election of 2020 is going bye-bye. It was an attack by other country, communism coming in. I don't know what they're going to do with it after they pull it down, but it's
but hang on a second.
Hold on. Donald Trump will be back in office in August.
That's sad. Oh my God, that's sad. Honestly, the level of delusion here has gotten to the point of where I'm kind of worried about this guy. Well, maybe I'm not so much worried about this guy, but I'm actually worried about what he's going to use as a defense. You know he's being sued for $1.3 billion by Dominion voting system, right? That's what he's talking about. He's like, oh, once I go to court, they're going to completely wipe away the election, and then here we go. We're going to have Donald Trump back as president. No, we're not. That's not what's going to happen. But I wonder, it makes me think if he's going for the insanity defense in that case. I mean, look, he wouldn't be the only one who's done this. But maybe he's just saying, hey, I'm just going to keep saying crazy ass things. And then when I go to court in this lawsuit, I'm going to say, hey, look, I didn't mean it. I'm nuts. I'm crazy. Ooh, look at the crazy things that I'm saying. Who could possibly take anything that I've ever said seriously? That means you can't hold me accountable because no reasonable person would ever take me seriously. Basically, what I've just outlined is the Tucker Carlson, Sidney Powell defense. Now, he's not there yet, but I see it coming. I do see it coming. He's going to realize at some point that he's not going to win this lawsuit against Dominion. You know it. You know it. And, okay, so here's the thing about that. So now, I do believe he's kind of crazy. Unlike Sidney Powell, Lindell is a true believer. Okay? He's sticking to his guns. He's going to do so for now. But I do not think that this is going to last. Once the gravity of the situation finally dawns on him, and he realizes that he is going to lose everything that he holds dear, his entire company, his millions of dollars private jet, all for Donald Trump, that's when he's going to flip. That's what he's going to say. Oh, no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. No, it's crazy. I'm nuts. Please don't punish me. Please don't take my stuff. I mean, even if he believes, I don't know if he'll give up everything for Donald Trump. It would seem to be really stupid because everybody who has ends up immediately regretting it. Okay. It would be dumb in the best of circumstances. And maybe I'm giving the guy a little too much credit because, again, Donald Trump could give a shit less for anybody who takes a fall for him. It's true. It's true. We saw it with, what is it? Michael. Now I can't think of his name. It's his former associate who actually went to prison for him and gave Stormy Daniels the payoffs. I just can't seem to remember his name. But in that case, like we saw, Trump's gonna throw you under the bus, and that's what happens. And so I know there's people out there, Michael Cohen, thank you. There's people out there that think, oh, no, not me. I'm a loyal soldier. He'd never sacrifice me at the altar of himself. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. How many times, by the way, are conservatives going to move the goalposts? And we see it again, right? First, it's January 20th. That's when the FBI is going to arrest Joe Biden. And nominate and put Donald Trump back into power. That's what's going to happen. First, it was January. That's like March. Now it was supposed to be in April. And now, no, August. August. That's the date. It reminds me of the doomsday people. You know the doomsday cults. The people, the world's supposed to end on Tuesday. Tuesday. You got till Tuesday. And then it's all over. Boom. The sun's going to explode or something. We're going to get vacuumed up into heaven. and then the rest of you are you're just kind of screwed. Or, the big volcano is going to erupt. It's supposed to end. So, get your affairs in order. Maybe give me some money. Oops. Oh, turns out we got it wrong. It wasn't Tuesday. It's next Tuesday. It's to the second Tuesday from now in next year. That's what it is. Yeah, of course. We got that wrong last time, but don't worry. This time's right. 100%. So you better prepare. Hold on to your butts. End of the world. There's always a we were wrong before, but we'll get it right this time. Sure. No. And here's the thing. I wish I could shake people out of this delusion. I really do. I really do. Because it's not even about like being right, For me, it's not about like, I'm right, you're wrong, haha, you're stupid. No, it's not about that. It's about, dude, you realize that you're living in a complete delusion. Like, I feel bad for you. I don't want you to do like crazy and think crazy things. Like, you're not living in the reality with the rest of us, the reality-based world. You don't have to agree with me on things, but for God's sakes, we should at least agree on reality, on what's real and what isn't. And so that's what's, that's what my issue is. Okay. I just want people to be back in the real world so that we can actually tackle some real world problems, because we got plenty and we need as many people on board to solve them as we can. And we can't do that if like half the country is insane. All right. Oh boy. I was going to take a break, but we got a couple stories to get through still. So maybe I can, maybe you can hold off on that. Moving on. I don't know if y'all saw this one. But all right. The trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, the man charged with, of course, 3 charges of second-degree murder. Not 3 different charges, but 3 charges. He's got second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and a second-degree manslaughter charge for the death of George Floyd last year. That is currently underway right now. And one of the arguments in favor of Mr. Chauvin is cringe. And I'm going to show you that. This is, here's defense attorney Eric Nelson claiming that it wasn't Officer Chauvin's fault that the police did not give Mr. Floyd life-saving care. No. They couldn't do that because he was distracted. He was too distracted to help. Take a look.
There are people across the street. There are cars stopping, people yelling. There is a growing crowd and what officers perceive to be a threat. They're called names. Heard them this morning. A f***ing bum. They're screaming at him, causing the officers to divert their attention from the care of Mr. Floyd to the threat that was growing in front of them.
The care of Mr. Floyd, as if they needed any more of that kind of particular care from the police officers that they were getting. Come on, dude. Really? Wow. I mean, hey, well, his argument is, we're going to do something, but we couldn't because of, all that noise. And, our feelings were hurt when they actually called us names. I mean, oh, my God. So his argument is that Officer Chauvin, because of the name calling, because of the crowd, was too triggered, that he was unable to get his knee off the neck of George Floyd. And, that's why Derek Chauvin's the real victim here. How dare they call him names? How dare they? It made him feel so bad. You were on somebody's neck for almost 9 minutes. That's an insane argument. And so what's interesting about this argument is, by proxy, it is not Chauvin's fault. Oh, no. It's the crowd's fault. If the crowd hadn't been there and hadn't been urging them urging the officers to get off of George Floyd's neck, then they would have gotten off George Floyd's neck? What? Or would have been able to help him? It doesn't make any sense. And that's like the most charitable way of putting that. Seriously. But again, they're going to go with he got distracted. Okay, well, look, if you get distracted so easily and you get so triggered by somebody calling you names, well, I mean, then maybe you hear me out. Maybe you shouldn't be a cop. If you're so easily triggered, if you have such a thin, little paper thin skin, we shouldn't give you a gun and a badge. I'm just saying, maybe you shouldn't do that. I mean, if you can't handle the pressure of a crowd, what makes you think that you can handle, actual criminals, right? I mean, why are you a cop? Other than, of course, apparently to get all that power and to use that against, vulnerable communities. I mean, it's ridiculous. But understand, right? This happened with him having his knee on Floyd's neck. Floyd was already subdued. He was already handcuffed. He wasn't going anywhere. Okay, wasn't even a danger. Wasn't a danger at all. Had profusely apologized to police before they took him down. Before they ripped him out of his car, shoved him on the ground, handcuffed him, and then kneeled on his neck for 10 minutes or for 9 minutes. All right, it just holy shit. But understand, with police, they have been trained to use maximum force. Maximum force whenever they can get away with it. And they can usually get away with it because in the black community, because those communities are often filled with people who don't have power. So now the only time that police actually tend to not go overboard is when they're dealing with somebody that they know is wealthy, and generally that tends to be, the upper crust of white society. Okay. That's not to say that they don't go after white people, but we've seen the difference here. Okay. We've seen the difference. Again, you usually have in these situations unarmed black people that are killed, whereas you have a white mass shooter. Well, yeah, I mean, they take them alive and occasionally go to take them to get a burger somewhere on the way to jail. But if you're a black man selling loose cigarettes or walking to your car or sitting in your car, well, then we must use maximum force to subdue you. And if you die in the attempt, well, that's your fault. This is essentially what they're saying. Weird how that turns out. Weird. The argument is ridiculous. And by the way, if you watch the video, the crowd was fairly calm for a crowd that's trying to tell them, hey, get off this guy's neck. You're killing him. They were pleading with the officers. Get off the guy's neck. He says he can't breathe. Get off him, please. He's begging for his mother. And that's what he was. He says, tell my mother, my family, I love them. I'm dead. I'm going to die. I mean, all the prosecution has to do is play the video for them. Okay. And it obliterates this defense. If this is what they have, I mean, it'd be hard for a jury not to find him guilty as long as the jury is impartial. And here's the thing about the jury, by the way. It was very difficult for them to find an impartial jury because everybody has seen this video. Millions and millions and millions of people have seen this video. And a lot of them have the same defense. Or I'm sorry, not the same defense, but the same reaction to it, is that this is indefensible. Yeah. So they had again, really tough time finding impartial jurors because of that video. So there's that. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens from here on out. But it's not going to be the only cringe defense, cringe argument made by the defense of this. Again, it doesn't really matter at this point, like, what kind of minor crimes that he was involved in. That's not any reason to kill him. We don't live in a state, we shouldn't live in a state where police are automatically the judge, jury, and executioner. when it comes to a counterfeit $20 bill. It's ridiculous. All right. Moving on here. All right. One more story for y'all. Before we do it, here's what we're... I'm going to read a couple of super chats here. Let me get to this. Message. Where is that? Somebody got their second Moderna shot. Congratulations. That's awesome. Let's see. Rolling with the Punch says, fear the ultimate motivator. Let's not fear. Much love. Thank you. And thank you, Jay Koreshi, for that as well. White cops don't care about the pleas of black men. Another dead black man. Sad but true. Yeah. No, absolutely true. Absolutely. All right. Hey, congratulations, Danger Davis. Just getting your first shot today. I still need to get mine. Working on it. Working on it. All right. So let's go to the next story. Last one, actually. Whoops. An evangelical pastor is going after his own kids for calling him out. Now, Reverend Rick Joyner has been calling for Christians to buy weapons for a coming civil war. So a civil war that, of course, I guess that he is preparing to be a part of. I mean, because, you know, nothing is more Jesus-like than picking up an AR-15 and shooting people who don't agree with you, which includes kids, apparently. So this was detailed in a New York Times column. So the pastor is labeling his own children as being evil. He's, of course, the same pastor who in 2016 compared Donald Trump to the disciples of Jesus. Hilarious. He also told his followers in 2013 that he was praying for a military coup against former President Barack Obama. Yeah, of course. But it's Antifa that's the real problem, right? Antifa, real problem. And not these insane people hiding behind religion in order to call for violence. How is this any different than the mullahs? That's what I have to ask. This guy sounds like he belongs in Iran. I mean, come on. All right. Anyway, so now columnist Nicholas Kristof noted in his Sunday piece that Reverend Joyner suggests that liberals are the allies of the devil. But this is the awkward part, wrote Kristof. His 5 children would be on the other side of the Civil War, as he and his kids all acknowledge. Just as America is torn asunder by politics and polarization, so is the Joyner family. The Joyners love each other, are there for each other, and despair for each other. So now I love the idea, okay, that caring for poor people, asking the rich to pay their fair share, loving the immigrant and thy neighbor, you know, whether they be trans, gay, black, whatever, is somehow being an ally of the devil. Great. Yeah. Sure. Now, here's the thing. All those things sounded kind of Christian to me. Now, not the current iteration of it, obviously, but at least what it's supposed to be advertised as. I know, false advertising. There's a lot of people who claim to be, you know, Christian, good religious people, but they're not, and they haven't even, you know, read or understood the source material whatsoever. Someone like myself who is non-Christian, non-religious, you know, I understand more of the source material than these people. The same. Now, his eldest child, Anna Jane Joyner, said this about her father, quote, he talks about Democrats being evil, forgetting that all 5 of his kids vote for Democrats. Who is he asking his followers to take up arms against? Liberal activists. That's me. Oh yeah, that's you, technically. That of course it's also anyone who doesn't, who isn't extremely religiously conservative, which is like most of the country. Look, here's the thing. So there is this division, right? But you have Republicans actually that have some fairly liberal beliefs. I know, but hold on. You actually ask most Republicans, guess what they like? Medicare and Social Security. Progressive. Those are liberal things. Those are progressive policy that we'd actually like to see expanded to more people. Even half of all Republicans, 50%, are fine with same-sex marriage. They don't care. They're like, yeah, totally fine. 50% of Republicans. It should be more, obviously, but half of all Republican voters, totally fine with it. All right. Now, 43% of Republicans want to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, it's not a majority, obviously. And there's some, Republicans that are way against this, right? But 43%, almost half, not too terrible. All right. We're getting there. We're getting there. You have Republicans that are open to some progressive ideas. 53% are open to a wealth tax. So there are ideas that are progressive that some Republicans are open to. But why then are they voting for, insane Republicans that want none of those things and just want to funnel money to the rich? Culture war, wedge issues, abortion, cancel culture, that kind of stuff. And a lot of that, of course, is driven by conservative media. Now, policy-wise, though, but there are some things that self-described Republicans believe in that are good, that are progressive, that they actually believe with us. So, I mean, come on. That said, those are things that people like Bernie Sanders can actually do, propose to bring, to basically go to things like Fox News, right? And do a town hall where you have, Republicans, people in West Virginia clapping for Medicare for all, saying, well, that's obviously a common sense, good idea. Yes, universal health care. And remember, we're the only advanced country that doesn't really have any form of actual universal health care. In European countries, the conservatives there are generally still defending the system of universal health care. So understand that the right wing is pretty insane here compared to the rest of the world. That said, this pastor is using the culture wars to call his political opponents evil, essentially. Now, look, I don't believe that all Republican voters are evil. I believe a lot of the stuff that they vote for is evil, that their representatives do in their name, evil. I believe the people, though, the voters are deeply misguided. Some of them are hateful because of the fear and disinformation that people, like this guy stoke. All right. Some of them also are just incredibly greedy, awful people. And a lot of them actually just don't know better. I know it sounds condescending, but it's true. People who watch Fox News are actually disinformed. They actually know less than people who watch other cable news sources because they're not getting informed. They're just getting cancel culture stuff shoved down their throats, which is ironic because the thing that they complain about is cancel culture all the time when Fox News is literally doing nothing but WAP, Dr. Seuss, cancel culture stuff. Let me give you an example. I know this is an anecdote, right? But it's somebody I knew. Okay. I knew somebody who voted Republican. Now, why does she vote Republican? Well, she said it's because her family has always voted Republican, as does her church. So, of course, she votes Republican. Now, where does she stand on the issues? She don't really know. She doesn't know about the issues. Now, this person happens to also be on food stamps, Section 8 housing, and on disability. But she votes Republican. Completely ironic. Now, the thing is, again, she doesn't know about the issues. She's not informed. And there's that peer pressure right? Well, my family's always voted. My parents always vote Republican. My church votes Republican. Everybody in my congregation votes Republican. And so that's why I vote Republican. Yeah, but don't you understand that you're actively voting against yourself when you vote for Republicans? Republicans are getting rid of Social Security, and they've convinced some Democrats to try to curtail benefits as well. Republicans are not in favor of Medicare. Republicans are not in favor of higher wages, not in favor of Section 8 housing, not in favor of food stamps. They want to cut food stamps. That's an example of what we're facing here. The complete lack of information and total disinformation coming from the right wing. This is an example of the dangerous toxicity as well, spread in the right wing. What this man is saying, all right? And this family is deeply afraid of what could actually happen to them as a result of this. She and her family said that they were concerned, and this is going back to the Joyner family, are concerned that this right-wing rhetoric could get people killed. It's true. She said, I think it's completely possible that some of my dad's followers could pick up guns and cause violence because they think they're defending the country. And January 6th is a great example of that. Where they didn't pick up guns, but they had other weapons, and they used them. Police officer not Derek Chauvin, sorry. I forget his name. Damn. Brian Sicknick. Police officer Brian Sicknick was killed during the January 6th raid at the Capitol. So there is one example of violence. And not only that, her youngest brother, Sam, agrees. He says he's causing harm in my view, and he's being incredibly irresponsible. But yeah, totally irresponsible. There's more. Ben Joyner, the brother, says, I think what he does is morally wrong, but I love him. I don't want to hurt him. But when he's spreading dangerous ideas, it gets complicated. And understand, this is what a lot of families are going through. And I couldn't imagine like dealing with not only a Republican, a conservative, but like a conservative family member, which I do have, by the way. But like this kind of unhinged, insane stuff, you know, like QAnon people, conspiracy theorists. This is one of those guys, conspiracy theorists. Of course, he's one of those like the Tim Pool people, right? That's like, oh, civil war's coming. You got to arm yourself. You got to buy guns and maybe prepper buckets. You know, like the Jim Baker buckets, which are like disgusting as fuck. But there's that. Okay. And I understand that it can get really complicated. But like things, you know, we have to figure things out, how to deal with these people and make sure that they don't keep spreading this, you know, this violence, essentially. Now, it's funny. Christoph then called Reverend Joyner, asked him about his family. Here's what he said. It's about even. One of my goals as a parent was to raise strong, independent children. But I think I overshot the runway. No, I think you did just fine. Ironically. But here's the thing. It's not even. It's not about even. Not at all. It's not even close. It's not like your kid. Okay. Your kids are annoyed with you and your beliefs. Okay. Because you're calling them evil. And then you're saying that your followers should arm themselves and shoot your kids. Do violence against them. Why? Because you don't think like, or they don't think like you do. That's it. The kids, well, they're just like, wow, I wish my dad wouldn't do that. Wouldn't say those things. And that's really it. I mean, this is not even, this is not even, I mean, and the fact that he doesn't see this, what he's doing wrong is mind blowing. Maybe there's a financial incentive here where, you know, these people are like, well, I mean, obviously I've got to keep, you know, ginning up this fear and this hatred so that I, you know, people will keep tuning into my show, because it turns out that stuff really does help with the clicks, man. Yeah, it turns out being crazy, spreading fear, disinformation, getting people to fight with each other, doing drama, Yeah, that's what helps channels. That's what helps channels grow. This is why but I don't do that. That's why I haven't grown, by the way, on YouTube, barely. That's why I don't do well on YouTube, or anything like that. But like, this is dangerous. What he's doing is dangerous. That sucks. You shouldn't do that. And how blind can you be at your own words? And this is the problem with the right wing. Okay, their ideology obviously sucks. It doesn't work. We know that. It literally makes society worse for women, black people, immigrants, everybody, but except for straight white people. All right, that's it. This country is getting more diverse as their ideology gets left in the dust. The hardliners get more extreme. Okay, this is an example. This is just all about the violent rhetoric that is coming from the right wing. It's true. And yet, the right wing is more concerned about somebody burning down an Arby's when, people, human beings are actually being killed as a result of dangerous right wing ideology in this country. This pastor is an extremist. His kids are right when they say that his words could be a cause for violence, because we have seen it happen before, and unfortunately, we're going to see it happen again. It's a really sad situation. All right. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. Hey, Fugly Pug, thank you for the subscription to Prime. Much appreciated. 3 months. 3 months with Prime. Awesome. Thank you as well for the super chat here. Let me open that up. From Gypsy Mama. Thanking me for not having to have you listen to Candace Owens' voice. Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Anyway, that's all I've got for you all today. Thank you for going on the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream. Please help us out by going to patreon.com/JeffWaldorf if you want to support the show. Very important that you do so. Helps us out greatly. Also, subscribe to our Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. Jeff's Politics, all that wonderful stuff. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Or you can also subscribe on Twitch, which helps the show. Or use the Prime subscription and give me the Bezos bucks. By the way, the union decision this week that's happening for the Bessemer plant in Alabama. Is Amazon going to get a union, or will it be crushed? But don't worry, even if it does get crushed, there will be more union pushes. I can guarantee that. We are going to continue and not stop until Amazon is fully unionized. That's how you do it. All right, everybody. Thank you. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you all later. Have a good afternoon or a good evening.
There's insanity in the control room. Who's got a hammer? There's insanity in the control room.
There's some boys in this house. Wet ass P-word.
Masturbate all day long. Don't you want to please me?
Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.